You are most welcome to yet another series, series of Humanist TV Africa in cooperation with Consent, where we come in to share with you the different perspective in the consumer world. Where we push forward consumer agenda, which is in advocacy, and then we rally and call for action for better business. So colleagues, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the global world. You're most welcome to our series of on Humanist TV with regards to the consumer agenda. Colleagues, like we informed you, or like we are going to continuously inform you, we are running a series that are originating from our Consumer Voices report of 2023 that we launched, from 2023 to 2024 that we launched on 30th October. Under that report, there are a number of sectors, and those sectors we are going through sector by sector, sharing with you what is contained. As always, we are very grateful to the Humanist TV Africa, our producer, Dennis, our host, all the respective hosts that we have, Kato, Brian, the respective studios in Southern Africa, Western Africa, and in Europe, for giving us this opportunity. And then my colleague, Bernard, for always being around, so that we unpack and we continuously lead consumers, lead businesses, lead duty bearers through the consumer voices, urging them to see to it that we address some of the consumer voices to build a resilient future for consumers to trust and have confidence in goods and services. So colleagues, you're most welcome. Like where we stopped last month, I'll be curtain rising and then invite Bernard to lead us through. Then thereafter, I will sum it up. So giving you as a curtain riser, last week, we addressed the issues to do with communication in general. If you recall, we started with transport. Then we ended up looking at signals in transport that lead us to communication, like traffic lights, a part of transport, but they communicate to the road users what needs to be done, like signals, like lights, indicator, brake lights, parking lights on the car or on vehicles. They are reflector jackets while we are riding, walking lanes while we are walking. All those communicate, and those are issues in transport. Then those issues as are being raised that they do communicate led us into the communication sector. And we appreciate that the communication sector is too huge a sector that it touches every aspect. Though the one in energy might come in and say, without energy, you might fail to communicate. Our great-grandparents used hand signals, they would blow horns, they would drum, they would be communicating. So they would need energy to blow the horn, to beat the drum, or to light the fire. That would be energy. So all those were forms of communication. And as we were deliberating last Friday, we saw that communication touches every facet of humanity. So we looked at the infrastructure, we looked at the gadgets, we looked at the signals, customer care, we looked at nearly everything. There are different aspects that we didn't look at, though they were implied, and showing that the way we communicate, our personal data is part of communication. It's part of the product, and it also is going to come in today as we discuss financial services. Like it is always said that we are all political animals. Communication plays a role where our personal data ends up playing a role even when we go into politics. When we are voting at times, our thumbprints are used to get to know who we are. And that is an element of communication because through the communication infrastructure, the biometrics is read and it brings out your name from whichever database it is best. It's stored. So communication plays a major role, and it is the second most complained about aspect that now leads us to the financial services. Ladies and gentlemen, financial services today are quite a big aspect. It is a sector that leads people to whisper day in and day out what they are experiencing. It is a service that facilitates, it's a service that provides different aspects. So the financial sectors, they can either make you all ditch you in our day-to-day life. So today, we are going to look at the financial sector. And in the financial sector, they are banking, microfinance issues, finance, the issues in our respective circles in the communities. They are issues, though insurance is in there, there are issues in there. There are issues still to do with communication, there are issues to do with transport. And you will find that the sector that we are going to mainly look at today, it is a sector that directly and indirectly affects consumers. So we would like to unpack the financial services, look at the cases in there. But as we look at the financial service and related products, you'll find that as we put in, let's say you're using mobile money, at times the equipment that we use can end up being substandard or to be of poor quality or a counterfeit, and ends up affecting the way we use the financial services using the communication or different gadgets. So you'll find that as we are deliberating with unpacking the consumer voices in the financial sector, a lot might go into the aspects to do with digital finance, which we will call mobile money, and even others can be mobile banking. In different aspects, it will lead in other terminologies. So today, we are going to look at all these. What are these consumer voices that are entailed in there? You will find that as we were deliberating on all these aspects to do with digital finance, there are issues to do with consumer protection. Consumer protecting consumers from unethical practices. But the question was, and as we were deliberating them, that given the convenience of the financial services that are digital, that are mobile, how are consumers being protected? Before, using Uganda as a case, there were few people that were linked, that were connected to banking institutions. There were and populations that were unbanked, the populations in the underserved areas that were not accessing the formal financial services. But through communication, mobile telephones came in, and as it kept on evolving, then mobile money came in. Using the case of Uganda, in 2009, the mobile telephony or mobile money started. The banking sector was there. As earlier in the area series, we were talking about it, there were less than 5 million accounts, or let's say there were 4 or 5 million accounts in savings, in current, in corporate, and so forth. But in 2009, when MTN launched its mobile money, all the customers that were on MTN that could access mobile money got their accounts using their SIM cards, and the financial sector changed when more consumers came in. And today, if we are to say that all those that have got SIM cards, they can have a kind of an account with mobile money using their SIM cards. When it is activated, they are inclusive in the financial sector today. And they are finding it reliable, comfortable, fast, and convenient. But with all its positive, a number of consumer voices are coming up with challenges. And these are the ones that we are going to look at, that we collected from October 2023 to October 2024. And my colleague Bernard is going to come in and start unpacking. Then I will come in thereafter, and I will also close the unpacking by giving overriders. You will appreciate that the financial sector improves our social, economic well-being by enabling us access. We will find that if it is not safe, when regulations are not effected, if there is no financial literacy, if the laws that are existing are not complied with or they are not put into effect, all these affect our welfare as consumers, and they affect business and making business not better for consumers and even business people. So these are issues that we are going to continuously speak out on. So once again, I welcome you to our series today, and we thank all our hosts. So at this point in time, let me call upon my colleague, Bernard, to come and unpack further aspects that were in the financial sector in our report. Bernard, you're most welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Henry. Thank you, Henry, for giving us the preamble, as we've always done, to make sure that our listeners are able to be reminded of where we stopped and what we're going to do next. But also, we want to, of course, take the honor to appreciate our host for always hosting us, giving us the platform to speak out to our people out there. And of course, today we are going to reflect on a number of things that are related to financial service sector that have been affecting most of the consumers and that have been complained about by the consumers. And first of all, I'll keep reminding us of particular things that we have always looked at, but of course to make sure that we keep repeating them and we see how we relate them with what is happening. Today, I will have a thorough reflection on the consumer plight around the financial service sector. And also, I'll speak through, again, reminding us about the consumer rights that are coming through in regards to finance. And then also, we shall be trying to reflect on the current regulations, the standards, and the policies that are surrounding financial sectors. And of course, in our discourse, we shall be using Uganda as a case, so that we have a thorough reflection of exactly where we got the data from. Now, the last 1 year, we've been collecting consumer complaints, as we had mentioned in the earlier series, trying to look at what are the consumers complaining about and what are their plight when it comes to those service centers or service sectors. Now, in relation to financial service sector, we explored the different avenues where people keep money or where people withdraw money, digitally or physically. So we shall be looking at aspects to do with the mobile money. We shall be reflecting on issues to do with the banks. We shall also be reflecting on issues surrounding aspects to do with urgent banking. What are those issues that came out clearly from the consumers from the different areas? I want to say that out of the people who complained, we are talking about 1,557 of them whose issues were surrounding financial service sector, meaning that they registered a complaint either on mobile money or banking or agent banking or something of the sort. So something to do with money. And what were those issues that came out clearly during the course of data collection? What are the people talking about? One of the issues that was very common was surrounding fraud. A lot of fraud happening on our phones. You have money on the phone, and then people are defrauding you on your phone. And then away from just fraud, people had to a little bit dive into what these fraud issues were and how they look like. So we are going to explore the different issues from that graph that is being presented, quite a number of issues that came out. Now, I want to quickly speak through fraud. Most of the consumers were thinking and were reporting that they have either been scammed. You're in your room or wherever you are, and then you see a scam message on your phone telling you that you have won 2 million shillings. And many of the people have been defrauded in such a way that when they see that message, then somebody calls them. Actually, the fraudster who has just sent a scam message calls you and says, hey, you've received, is it 2 million? And we send it abruptly on your phone, please return it, and or something like that. But in actual sense, when it is just not there, and they're trying to look at whether you have some bit of money on your mobile money. So many people who have that kind of amount. So for example, if you have 2 million on your account, you may end up sending it back to that fraudster, not knowing that actually they were defrauding you. Unfortunately, many of the fraudsters are aware of how much monies you transfer on your phone, either on a weekly or a monthly basis. So by the time they send you such a scam, they have been following your line over some period of time. And so they know how much money you, for example, you deposit or you withdraw over a period of time. So they will always give you a range of the amount of money in relation to what you've been depositing or in relation to what you've been withdrawing. So what happens with scammers is that they will send you a message that is commensurate to what you've been actually either sending or withdrawing. So many people have been tapped in this kind of thing. And so at the end of the day, they find themselves actually wiring back the money, and yet the money was actually not sent to them. And so many of the fraudsters have succeeded in that way. And so what is the guidance to the consumers? The guidance is that if you have not, for example, participated in a promotion, then do not expect that someone is going to send you money, because the money for promotions usually goes to people who have been participating in the promotion and have won the money. Unfortunately, most of our consumers are told that you have won a lottery, and yet you've never been even participating in any of the lotteries. So our guidance is that every time you see a message on your phone claiming that they have sent you so much money on your phone, don't quickly get excited. What you do, quickly go to your Momo or go to your account and actually check. Just dial your *156 and look for balance. They will be able to show you actually the amount of money that you have on your phone. So having a message that is reading 2 million does not necessarily mean that you actually have 2 million. Those are tricks that are being used by most of the fraudsters. So they will send you a similar message like that of mobile money, but actually when your balance is still the same. So quickly, when you see that message, go to your phone, check out for your balance, and actually realize if the money that you had there previously is actually what you still have there. So in that way, you'll be able to manage the challenges of fraudsters that come along with frauding people from mobile money. So that is one perspective. The other perspective around mobile money, we just noticed that some of our members are being defrauded because of the common practices that we actually do. And one of the common practice that has always been done is where people are sharing their pins. Share your pin with your wife, with your husband, with your children, agent. So you find that people are sharing their PIN numbers, which are ideally supposed to be secret numbers, whether it's your personal identification number. So literally, you're supposed to keep it to yourself. But because you've had a lot of trust that you have actually bestowed to the mobile money guy, you've ended up giving him your contact, but also your password, so that in situations you send your child to pick for your money, the person of the mobile money is already aware of your number, of your PIN, so they are able to use it. So the advice here is that every time you've given the passcode to somebody to help you pick your money, just know that that is the starting point of fraud, because that person has the ability to go to any mobile money and tell them, hey, I want to withdraw money from my friend's phone or my father's phone. I have their PIN. And so whenever someone goes with your phone, they can be able to actually withdraw your money from your phone because they actually have your PIN. Or in a situation where you go to a mobile money point and you forgot your phone there, it means that the owner of the mobile money agent is able to actually pick your phone and withdraw whatever money was in that on that phone. So that is how people lose money. Lately in Uganda, there was a case where the gentleman lost 2 million shillings. He had just borrowed from a friend to go and pay school fees for his children. And while he reached home, the wife picked his phone and sent the money off the husband's phone and sent it to the mother-in-law. So in a few minutes, the gentleman couldn't realize the money. The money had been withdrawn. And when he went to MTN to complain, when they tracked the case, they realized that actually the money left his phone and the money went to his mother-in-law's phone. Now, the mother-in-law is in the village, the gentleman and the wife are in town. So the question is, who sent the money to the in-law? Preferably the wife. The wife just got the phone and transferred 2 million shillings to her mother. Just because she had the PIN, it was enough for her to make a transaction on the husband's phone without the husband's notice, until the husband couldn't pay school fees. Someone has defrauded, and that is the wife. So we say that every time you give your PIN to your relative, to your friend, to anybody, ensure that in the next few minutes after that transaction is made, you change your PIN. When you change your PIN, you are preventing actually yourself from losing money. So that is one way. The other fraud was in the bank, where people go to the bank and probably they do not know how to use ATM cards. So they go with ATM cards and they do not know how to use, and they give a security person or any other colleague who's at the ATM to help them pick the money. So definitely you give the person your PIN. So the person puts in your card, presses the PIN, masters the PIN. And so somehow they know what your PIN is. Now, the next time you come, or if you lose your card, that same person is able to use it. Some of them can even play fraudster tricks. They tell you that the ATM has followed the card, and yet they have actually kept it. So if it's a security person at the bank, they will tell you, oh, the machine has followed the card, but the money was able to come. You come back at around 1 p.m. and you'll pick your card. So because someone is not aware, someone is not informed, they will go back home, they leave the card with the security person, and the security person conducts another transaction. So by the time you come back, he has already gotten $1 million shillings from your bank, and they give you your card. They say, oh, I think it was a network issue, your card, and all those stories come in. So that's how people are being defrauded at the bank. Other people at the bank, while they're there, they're not cognizant to know under what circumstances they can use their card, their PIN, and how best they can protect their PINs. And so people at the bank, people at the ATM are observing what you're doing, and they understand your number, your PIN number, and they can always defraud you anytime they have access to your card and to your number. So those are some of the issues that came through from the bank. Now, the other fraud issues that we have always interacted with the mobile money people, especially the agents, they go to the bank, they carry huge chunks of money, and people know that they actually go to withdraw this big money. So what happens is that every time they're at the bank, someone else is waiting for them, a fraudster, waiting somewhere on a border or something. So as they are moving towards their selling point, they are either beaten and the money grabbed from them, and the thief or the thug or the fraudster runs away with the money. So all those are tricks that are now leading to problems when it comes to agent banking or mobile banking. So the people who are running these agents, it would be very good that every time you're going to withdraw the money from the bank. After withdrawing the money from the bank, if it is bulk money, ensure that you have sufficient security with you. If you don't have security with you, it's a little bit risky. And so you must not withdraw this money very late in the evening, because research has shown us that the fraudsters are more active during the evening hours, because they know there's a lot of jam, so they can grab you from the jam, etc. So please go to withdraw the money at the time when you know you are secure, you're protected, and also carry the money in secure parcels. We have seen people going to the bank, and then after getting the money, they carry the money in the envelope. Everyone can easily know that you're carrying money in an envelope, and so they will follow you, grab you, and hit you. So the issue is, if you're picking the money from the bank and it's bulky money, go with a bag or something that you can actually carry without people noticing that you're actually carrying the money. But it should be the time of the day that you have the best security that you can always have. Otherwise, whenever you go late in the evening, the boys will target you and they'll be able to grab the money from you. Or if it's jam time, they can always grab the money from you during the course of the jam. I mean, something like that. And if it were possible, desist from using border. Sometimes you jump on a border and you're carrying an envelope of money, and thugs can easily grab you from the border and you have injuries. So sometimes if it is if you have the possibility, carry the money in the big bag, and also carrying it in a vehicle, it is a little bit safer than you having the money in an envelope and running away with it, left, right, center. So those are some of the fraud issues that we have seen. And I think the last case of the fraud case comes with stealing of the money. It comes with people who, you want to make a transaction, and then the network interrupts you somehow, and then you just leave before you can complete the transaction. Sometimes the money comes and is left at the counter. So sometimes people go to the bank, maybe to the ATM, just like you see that gentleman there. After that, you leave, the network disappears, and then a woman comes pretending, rather the gentleman is inside there pretending to be picking money, and they can grab you from, I think you can see from that video how the transactions are being done. A man is a fraudster, a lady is being frauded. So you see there are lots of issues that you can come across when it comes to frauding. But on phones, the fraudsters are now stealing the phones. So they steal your phone and take it away. And when they steal it, it's not that they want your money on the phone. What they need is the contact list. When they have the contact list of people on your phone, they can easily defraud as many people as possible. So when you lose your phone, please ensure that you go and block it so that no one else uses your phone. And also make sure that every time the phone is lost, go to police go to the nearby center and you lock it. When you lock it, the money remains there, or the money doesn't remain there. MTN can always find a way of freezing the money. So all those are avenues that we can deal with when it comes to fraud. Now, sometimes when people go also to ATM stations, you put in your card, and the fraudster can come pretending to be helping you, and they actually take away your right card, and they leave you with the wrong card. So every time you're placing that card in there, it's not working, it's not bringing the money, it's not your PIN. Actually, you also become another fraudster in another way, because someone has taken off your card because you are ignorant of things. So why is this coming up now? The issue is we are not taking charge of our rights as consumers. So the right to information, you have a right to information, you have a right to education, but people are not educating us. People are not giving us this information. People are not empowering consumers. People are responsible. I mean, the banks are not telling us how do we run transactions on the ATM. The telecoms are not telling us how to deal with fraud on our phones. And that's why we're here, trying to create awareness and showing you how it is important to demand for the information that you're supposed to have. So it's about the right to information, the right to be aware, the right to education. We need to educate our people. Actually, the banks, the mobile money tellers, the institutions that are responsible for monies, for finance, UMRA, the Bank of Uganda, we are supposed to be creating awareness to our people about how they can prevent themselves from fraud on their phones, on their mobile accounts, etc. And then, of course, I mentioned that every time you're frauded on a phone or a bank, where then are you supposed to go? It is very good that actually you submit your complaint. We have supported many people who come with their complaints. We've supported people in Centenary Bank. We've supported people. How do you report your case? That, hey, I was frauded by this and this and this, and this is how it happened. So people can be able to support you, because you must have a redress system. When you complain, how are you supposed to be compensated? How are you supposed to be, how is your case supposed to be handled? So we need to take keen steps as consumers. Be aware of your rights, know them. If you're going to use a particular service in a bank or in any sector, have thorough information about it. So when you have thorough information about it, what is your right to know? You have a right to be informed. Be informed and then understand how you're going to deal with that case. And if you have been informed and you're aware and you're educated, then make sure that you are critical on everything you do. If you give someone your PIN, be critical that they're not going to use it for other things. If you're giving someone your ATM card to support you, be critical enough to know that the person is using your card for the right purpose. So in terms of scams and in terms of fraud, those were the issues that came through. Maybe we can go back to the slide on the key issues that came out from the finance, away from fraud. There are other issues that came in. So for example, we went to communities where banks do not work over the weekends, or where some points do not work over the weekends, and yet people have to make transactions over the weekend. So people are saying now, how do I access financial services when the service provider is not working over the weekend? If you go to Kotido, we got a case where people are saying that, well, our banking institutions here don't work over the weekend, and yet we need money on Saturday. So what do we do in that case? So that case was already submitted. We submitted it to the responsible entities to see that consumers can be supported over the weekend, or maybe by providing other options or other alternatives. Now, the other concern was about customer care at the banking institutions. You see, so many people complained about it. People were thinking that if I am a customer, I am bringing money to the bank. Literally, I am the one making the bank to actually survive. Now, when you reach there, One of the challenges there, you see a long queue of people who are being served by a few staff. And so by that, you realize that people are not able to actually run their transactions on time. And so they are delayed, a lot of delays in the bank because of the long queues. And so we have suggested to other banks which have not yet adopted the issue of having enough chairs for people to sit in the bank, having an automated system so that you're able to serve the one who comes faster than the other. Those are some of the mechanisms that can support the consumers in addressing the challenge of customer care. But also sometimes you find that there are many customers who are coming to open up bank accounts, but you have only one person who is actually supporting the opening of the accounts. So the question is that now, if we are 50 people and you have one person, how effective is this person going to be? So the issue is, how are the banks taking customer care issues very seriously? But away from inside the bank, when I have a challenge and I am calling the call center at the bank, it takes long for someone to pick you up and talk to you. This is similar also to the communication sector. So you're calling somebody to seek guidance or maybe to register your complaint about a particular thing. And then it takes 30 or so minutes before someone can get back to you. So it's always, you know, all our guys are busy, we shall get back to you, but they never call back unless you call them back. But someone calls the whole day and no one is picking them. And if they pick, someone is rude to them, someone is not giving solutions, and yet someone is calling to actually find out why a particular issue has happened to their bank account. Now, we have seen other consumers who have gotten advanced, and we've been advising them to do so because we have proved that works best. We have seen consumers who have run away from making calls because they make calls and they're never picked, or they take long to be picked, and when they pick them, sometimes it's the AI that is speaking to you. Most of these banks or these institutions have made sure that they have AI responses. So you call, and instead of talking to a human being, you're talking to AI, and some people are not interested in artificial intelligence talking to them. They want a person-to-person call so that they can be able to get these messages, and then they're able to advance, they're able to correct things. But unfortunately, some of the banks do not pay attention to what people are actually complaining about. Instead, they just think that, well, we shall get back to you, but they never get back to us. And these are complaints of customer services. So we have advanced. We're now telling consumers to use other online platforms, such as X. We have learned over the short time we've tried it, that every time somebody writes to a bank or a service provider on Twitter or X, it is easily attended to as compared to the call. So because it has a lot of implications, many people are able to see the comment, and so the banks want to protect their visibility, but also they want to protect their name. So usually, whenever we use X or Twitter, we have seen the banks responding quickly as compared to the phones, or compared to going there and you line up. So we are encouraging our consumers now to, if possible, if you can, start using such spaces like X to complain or to submit any issues that you have. The other time we had an issue where the consumer had been complaining over a period of time for her for 2 million shillings that had disappeared from her account. It's until we advised her that, hey, no, just write to them and tag, just write on your X and tag the bank that is responsible for that. And when she did it, in the next 2 days, she got her money because the bank came in swiftly, because they want to protect their name, they want to protect their legacy and all that. So those are all other avenues. But the question is, why would the bank wait for someone to write to them? Why don't you pick their phone calls and you speak to them and you're good to go? These are some of the issues that have been coming through. I think you can see, this is one of the ladies that was complaining to that bank, and she was finally compensated a few days, just writing to the bank and showing her depression, showing how she's not comfortable with the service, and in a few, they send her money back, 2,080,000. It came back. So we shall keep encouraging people to use all avenues to complain, because that's our right. You need to be redressed, but you need to have a platform where you can actually submit your complaint, because it's also your right to complain. It's your right If you want redress, you must have sent in a feedback to someone for you to be able to receive the redress. So our consumers, don't fear to complain, because complaining, by the way, it improves the systems, it improves the service provider mandate, it improves your ability to access services. So don't fear to complain, it is our right. And whenever you need information, walk to the bank, walk to your service provider, and they should provide you information, because that is your right. And then also you must be redressed. Whenever your complaint is not addressed, do not relax until that complaint is actually addressed. I want to divert a little bit from the money. 2 days ago, I went to a restaurant and they gave me food, but the food they gave me was salty. And I found that everyone who was eating that food was internally complaining, but they were not sending the message to the person who was cooking the food. So I called for the chef. I talked to the chef and I talked to the manager. I said, please, your food is not palatable because there's a lot of salt and some of us are not comfortable with having the salt. Now, little did I know that all the consumers who were in that place were bitterly complaining inside, but they're not bringing out the issue. Now, when I went back yesterday, much improvement, no too much salt. The lighting was up to speed. Why? Because I complained, and actually I was meeting my responsibility as a consumer. So consumers, when it is money and you're going to the bank and you're not getting your services that you expect, by the way, you're a client, you're a customer to the bank, complain and make sure that you're heard. When you're not heard, use other avenues where you can be supported. Okay, so let us move back to the slide that talks about the numbers in terms of other complaints that came through, away from the issue of scams and the fraud. We also had other issues to do with network in the banks or network on the phones. Now, remember, the last episode we had, I mentioned that service providers cannot work in isolation. So, for example, the banking sector or the financial sector cannot work alone. They need other sectors. For example, finance needs communication. So UCC actually is a very big player in the financial sector because UCC is highly responsible for network. Now, the moment UCC takes off the network, the Uganda Communication Commission has no network. It means that all banks, all mobile money, all agent banks will disappear because they are all dependent on network. So the challenge of network kept on coming, that people go to the banks, you've moved a very long distance and you find the network is down. So what is the problem? So we are calling upon our service providers for financial services to always make sure that your network is up to speed. It is up there. Collaborate with those who are giving you internet or network to make sure that the network does not disrupt your service. Otherwise, the consumers go backward and they do not know what to do. So the issue of network must be handled. That is why when we are submitting this issue, we submitted it both to the financial service providers, but also to the Uganda Communications Commission. But also we took the same case to the telecoms because they are also responsible for network. If MTN or Airtel don't have network, it means people cannot make transactions on their phones. So that means network and mobile money are related, so they must work hand in hand. So if these two entities are not working together, there will be a challenge. You are going not to send money, and both of you are losing, the telecom company and also the banking sector. So the issue of network came out and was very, very loud there. And also we had now another issue that came, which was very bad, but we had no option. People were talking about unauthorized transactions on accounts. You're at home, and then you just see that your account has been credited. I don't know if it's credited or debited. Anyway, the money has been taken off your bank account, and you start wondering what went wrong. Now, this is what went wrong. Someone got your phone and initiated a bank transaction from your phone. And after initiating a bank transaction on your phone, just like many of us who are using Center Plus or those who are using online banking, so someone can pick your phone and initiate a transaction and even put in a PIN, and then the money just comes from the bank. So you only realize a transaction. Sometimes the banks send you a message later, maybe after 30 minutes. Then you see a message coming that your bank 300,000 has been withdrawn, but you have not gone to withdraw any money. So unauthorized transactions are also associated with one, scams and fraud. So we have to be keen with our pins. We need to be keen with the way we make transactions. People should not see how you make a transaction on your phone and copy your pin. So unauthorized transactions were actually associated with fraud and also the sharing of the pins and etc. But also, the consumers noted that there is lack of information, adequate information on banking terms. For example, people apply for loans and the bank loans are actually issued. But the problem is, you go and get a salary loan, you even don't know at what rate you're getting the loan because you are not searching for information, and yet that is your consumer right. And so the banker is leveraging on your ignorance to actually give you a loan at 26% of the interest rate, and yet you couldn't actually afford it. Two, most of the agreements we make with banks are written in very, very small letters and people never read them. Ideally, the law is the bank is supposed to give you all the information associated with the loan that you intend to take. So when you have information that is thorough about a particular loan that you want to undertake, you make an informed decision about the loan. But what are we seeing here? Most of our people, because at the time you're picking a loan, you are disparate, you go and just pick forms, you fill them, you sign them, and the banker is not supporting you to understand the provisions that are put in that agreement. So at the end of the day, people are paying high interest rates beyond what they could actually afford, and so they end up failing to pay the loans. So consumers were complaining that they have very limited information on banking terms. And I think the banks have to come up and go on TVs, go on radios to sensitize the masses on the different terms of each and every loan package that they have. So even us who are opening bank accounts in banks, we should be aware of how much do you charge me per month, maybe as service fee for my account. Unfortunately, many of us just go, and at the time of picking your bank statement, you see a lot of deductions and you do not know why those deductions. So limited information on banking terms is an issue that the banks and people in the financial sector have to actually address. And by the way, more than half of the population that we interacted with, those who complained, we are talking about 59% of people complaining about it. It's quite a big thing. But also, we saw that other colleagues were complaining about the complaints I talked about, but on the calls. Now, when you're calling the bank, a little bit, you're not having support from the banks when you're calling them. There is failed transactions. Failed transactions also came through, meaning that you initiate a transaction, but fails. It doesn't come through. That one is associated with network. So whenever network is poor, the transactions usually fail. Unfortunately, if it happens at the ATM, sometimes a transaction fails and then the money comes later when you have gone away. Now, in such a scenario, you are supposed to go to the bank and your money can be, because it's supposed to be retrieved back when the network disappears. So many consumers are not interested in waiting, and so they don't go back to the bank. They don't check their balances, and only to realize on a day you're going for a transaction, you find that your failed transaction was actually made. Recently, there was a concern where someone transacted money, but the network disappeared, and so the money didn't come. But I think shortly the money was sent back at the ATM, and I think the bank was very swift to actually return the money. So such scenarios are there, but our consumers do not know these things. What do I do when a transaction fails? How am I supposed to deal with it? So all this information should be packaged and sent out to the consumers on time. Actually, the banks and financiers should have even avenues on radio, on TV, on local community radios to spread this information so that our people are actually aware about these things. And then in some communities, some people are complaining that they have no access to mobile banking, they have no access to mobile money points, they don't have access to ATMs. So we call upon the banks and the financiers at least have these widespread, so that at least people who don't have a bank in a particular place, they can be able to have an ATM, so that instead of traveling from my village coming to Kasese town, I can have in the centers nearby where people can have access to agents or to ATMs that could solve the issue of people having to travel long distances to come to the bank just to pick 50,000 and someone is using 30,000. But also, people can have mobile banking on their phones, but they are not aware. They're in the village down there and they have money in the bank. And for them, they know that I can only go to the bank or to the ATM to withdraw. They do not know that I can actually use my phone to withdraw my money from the bank, or I can deposit money in the bank using my phone. So such information should actually run through the villages, because we have seen this challenge commonly in the village, in the rural setting as compared to the urban. Urban, people seem to be knowing, but in the rural setting, people are not aware. Now, we also had a challenge of account hacking, where now a lot of hacking in accounts is happening, including hacking the central bank, hacking the banks themselves. So the question is, if the central bank, for example, can be hacked. I am just using a case for Uganda where I have read a paper indicating that the central bank was hacked. I mean, that is the only fact that I'm using for now. Now, if it was in the newspaper, I had the Bank of Uganda coming up and saying, no, this is not true, but assuming that the Bank of Uganda or a central bank is hacked, where do consumers now get the confidence to trust in the systems of the other banks? If the bank where I trust that I'm keeping my money can be hacked, now, how do I trust such a bank? So most of the financial institutions, we need to make sure we deal with the issue of hacking into people's accounts, but also hacking within the system of the bank. We need to deal with those concerns so that we can improve the status quo, so that we can improve the trust that our people have in the financial services. And lastly, it was an issue of bureaucratic measures. Someone has been defrauded, someone has been frauded, and goes back to the bank, and the bank, okay, now you got this manager sends you to another manager, this customer person sends you to one, and at the end of the day, you don't get redress because of the bureaucratic processes. Someone now says, oh, now your case has to be handled in Kampala, but it happened in Kasese. Why can't this issue be solved at that level so that the person is supported? So the issue of bureaucracy when it comes to redress was a very big concern of consumers. That when things are small, when you need their money, when you want them to bank with you, you come to them, you beg them, please, we shall protect your money, blah, blah. But when it comes to the time of failing to protect them, then the bureaucracy becomes lengthy. And so this is where the problem is. In the last few minutes, before Mr. Chimera comes to give us the remarks, we have legal regimes in Uganda that are supposed to be, okay, policies, acts of parliament, standards, they do exist to protect consumers against issues of finance concerns. So for example, in Uganda, we have the Computer Misuse Act. Computer Misuse Act of 2011, it addresses issues of cybercrime and electronic security. How do you keep people's information in the bank? How do you keep our work or our information, our data about our money, our personalities, and whatever in your bank securely? There is an Act of Parliament of 2011 which protects consumers against any form of cybercrime and electronic security. So there is no way the bank will convince me, the consumer, that my money was stolen, and yet the bank subscribes to that act. So how the banks and financial service providers are supposed to protect my information, my money, is provided for in the Computer Misuse Act. Now, if your staff tampers with my money in your bank, that is not my problem, because me, I'm protected by the act. You are supposed to compensate me whatsoever. So we have that, and also it provides for customer identification, verification, and etc. But also we have other provisions that deal with anti-money laundering. That is also another. We have it as a country. So we don't expect stories that your money was, no, you have to protect us. Now we have a mobile money regulation, 2013. That is the regulation that actually governs mobile money financial service security. So there is no way you'll convince a consumer that, you see, your money has been taken off your phone without your authority. If I am found guilty, then yes, I can be penalized as a consumer. But if I'm innocent, my money is taken away by somebody and I don't know, I have a mobile money regulation of 2013 that is supposed to be protecting my money. And actually, it governs mobile money financial service security, mobile money. So we have those provisions already. We even have the Uganda Communications Commission Act 2013. It addresses issues of electronic communication security. All of this can prevent consumers from scams. But the question is, at what level are we executing these policies? We even have a national payment system, by the way, which protects us from third-party services and all this. All these policies are with us, but how are we implementing them? How are we executing them? We even have the Electronic Signature Act. This one is supposed to be regulating digital signatures. And also we have something called the National Identity and Registration Act. It addresses biometric data. For example, in the bank, I have signed and I've given you my thumb as my biometric data. I do not expect anything from the bank that my money is lost because I'm protected by this kind of act. Quite a number of things. Even the UNBS has a lot of standards on this, which are protecting consumers against these things. Now, the question that we remain with, who is protecting the consumers? Are we putting in force these acts of parliament, these policies, these regulations, these standards? Even the consumers, do we know them? The banks, the staff who are working there, do they know these policies? Do they know even the standards? So we need to do a lot of work to sensitize people, give them information, educate them, so that people are aware of their rights, of their responsibilities, and then we can be able to protect each other when it comes to fraud, when it comes to issues of money laundering, when it comes to issues of data protection, when it comes to issues to do with protection of monies of people when dealing with transactions. So I think for today, I think I will end with this. Of course, next time we shall keep on building, but these are some of the issues that came from the data collection we had, harvesting complaints of consumers, and these are the key issues that come through. I am happy to inform you that we have been able to get all these issues. We've taken them to the different responsible entities. We've talked to UCC, we've talked with the regulators, giving them these insights, but also our international colleagues, Consumers International and others, who've been able to provide this information to them so that we can together plan a better way of reaching out to our people. Thank you so much, and I hand you over to Mr. Chimera to close out the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Thank you for digging in, unpacking, and also simplifying all this. Yeah, Bernard, you ended up well on issues to do with the regulatory framework, and if the regulatory framework are in place, then that means that if they are not delivering to consumers, then there is issue of transparency, where information is not passed on to the consumer right to information is infringed. But that, before I dig into and closing with transparency, I would like the consumers to know, and even the regulators and even businesses, that if it is not safe, it is very key. Stop. We need to stop an action. We need to assess. And if we are assessing, we are doing fact checks. And if we are doing fact checks, then when we see something wrong, let's expose it, let's speak up. So that is what is behind when you see us having, if not safe. Okay, if it is safe, then it must be safe, then access it, use it for your irrespective functions, and encourage others to use it if it is safe. But if it is not safe, take those actions. As we close, it is very important that transparency, we will appreciate that over 3 billion consumers globally are using digital financing. But the biggest challenge that they are realizing with digital financing is the opaque, the misleading information, inaccessibility to information. And all this leads them to lose trust, to lose confidence. You'll find that the complexity that we are in. The information is unclear. We have hidden costs and all those were raised. The complexity, the excessiveness, the misleading information, these terms and conditions are affecting consumers accessing these beautiful services. The aspects of unethical practices leading to fraud, personal data abuse, these are affecting consumers not to enjoy the service. So the call to action is the duty bearers. These consumer voices are not condemning you. They are calling you to action. May you please facilitate us to enjoy these services. They are not a privilege. They are a need. It is part of our basic needs as consumers. These are needed for businesses to be better. These consumer voices are spelling out that let's make business better to serve them. So it is not against businesses, it's not against regulators, but it is to encourage the regulators calling you to action, calling businesses to action. Can we strengthen the systems? Can these systems enable us have trust, have confidence? So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you wherever you are for having joined in, listened in, and we encourage you to continuously visit Facebook, visit our YouTube, and you pass it on to others so that they are aware. We need to maximize the consumer voice in the financial sector, and in particular the digital sector, for those that are unbanked and for those that are in hard to serve areas so that they access these services, but when they are knowledgeable. We are all potential victims. So the best we can is to use what we have received as information to enable others not fall victims. So colleagues, wherever you are, it was a great honor. We look forward to speaking and addressing you next Friday. We'll be looking at electricity, energy. How are we accessing that energy? If we are to link it today, once the energy, electricity goes off, the machines are not on solar system, they don't have a generator, you will have incomplete transactions. You will be affected in one way or another. If the gadget wasn't charged, then it runs out of battery. So energy plays a very big role in the aspects that we talked about. It facilitates financial transaction, it facilitates communication, and it continuously facilitates transport and so forth. So all of these sectors we are talking about and we are unpacking affect us as consumers, and these voices should be taken something serious to increase consumer advocacy, to build trust and nurture quality culture in the services that are given. So colleagues, we look forward to being with you next Friday when we unpack the consumer voices in the energy sector. I wish you a superb weekend. God bless you. God bless.